Morning. We've just parked up at Spoutforce, Darling Howe, where today we're going to do a round of the Whinlatter Fells, starting with Whinlatter itself. We're going to head through the forest to Lord Seat, over Broom Fell, and then eventually on to Greystones. So yeah, today it's a bit of a mixed bag, heavy showers and sunshine, hopefully more sunshine. We've just head down the forest road where you'll find a fork in it. Take the fork to the right and start heading slightly up, and just up the road here you're going to find a big rusty old metal tank on the right hand side. At that tank we're going to start heading steeply up the fell to Brown Howe, which is the first summit on the ridge of Whinlatter. And here's that rusty old tank now, just there underneath that spruce tree, so just be careful, it's quite easily missed. From here we're going to climb up this bank and then start heading up into the forest. So yeah, the initial pull up through the forest's steep, but it soon gets you up the hill. Without in the clearing now, keep following the wall and the fence, and a little bit further up here you can get through the fence. Cross over the wall first. Just here. Makes it a bit easier when you get a little bit higher up. Just as you start dropping back down, you'll find a hole in the wall with a stile and a dog gate. Just here. There you are. Leave the stile and the wall and start heading up the track to Brown Howe, Whinlatter Fell. So there below me now is the forest of Darling Howe. We've got Lord Seat, Broom Fell and Greystones. We've also got a big nasty looking shower coming in from the west. Brown Howe, Whinlatter Fell, 517 metres. It's not the true summit, but it is the summit Alfred Wainwright chose for his 214 list. So it's a Wainwright and a Burkitt. And there's the summit. It's got a little bit of a shelter. We'll head across the ridge to Whinlatter Top, which is the true summit. It's a Burkitt, and then we'll drop down to Tarbarrel Moss, which is also a Burkitt, and then through the forest to Lord's Seat. Well, the rain hasn't came, but the clag certainly has, so we can only hope that it clears. Otherwise we're not in for much in the way of views. But we do, of course, always have our point of vision view of Billy's backside, so there's always something to film. I do believe it might be starting to clear over the other side of the valley towards Graystones Pike. It's a lovely quiet ridge. You know, the fact that the Wainwright is at the end usually puts most people off walking this ridge. They usually just go up to Brown House summit and then they don't bother with the rest. Whinlatter Top, the true summit, 525 metres. It's a Burkitt. There's Graystones Pike and Hobcarton End, just clearing to my right. And in front of us, below us, we've got Keswick and Derwent water. Once we hit the tree line here at the end of the ridge, we'll follow along the fence all the way to the summit of Tarbarrel Moss, which is up there. That's another Burkitt summit. And then from Tarbarrel Moss we're going to head through the forest to the summit of Lord's Seat, just there. The other side of this fence is a cycle only track coming out of Whinlatter, so don't be tempted to cross the fence because they come up this track like lightning. Stay over this side and head for the corner of Tarbarrel Moss, where you'll find a gate and a path dropping through a deep dark section of woodland. the summit of Tarbarrel Moss, 493 metres. It's a Burkitt, and believe it or not, this is the summit, more or less here by the fence and the gate that drops us into the forest. And just be careful when you drop out of this section, because at the bottom there's also a cycle track that runs over the top of this path. I can hear the rain, it seems heavy, so I'm going to stay in here for a bit. Cross the forest road and follow the road over the other side. Takes us up to Lord's Seat. So the forest's offering us a little bit of protection from the rain. It's persisting it down now, but we won't be deterred. Even we get rain every now and again. Don't bother the rock star, does it? The rain's eased off a bit, but the clag is certainly back in. That's Lord's Seat, just ahead of me. You'll hit a fence up here, cross it, and head up to the summit. Lord's Seat, 552 metres. It's a Wainwright, a Burkitt and a Madeline. There you go. You could drop down to Barf and incorporate Barf on the walk, but it would be about an extra mile, mile and a half. So we're going to follow this path along the ridge to Broom Fell. We're getting a little bit of a clearing now. We can just see the big cairn on Broom Fell just ahead of us, and the forest of Darling Howe below us. Whinlatter Fell, where we head up earlier. Not so easy making videos on days like this, but hopefully we'll be able to get some decent footage of these atmospherics and mist, rain. It's very, very still. There's not a breath of wind. Good lad. Broom Fell, 511 metres. It's a Wainwright and a Burkitt. And we have light. It's starting to clear now. Below the ridge, we're going to drop down to Greystones. In the collie between us and Greystones, there's a little hill called Widow Hawes. It's a singe. It's kind of insignificant, other than the fact once we've been to the summit of Greystones, we're going to drop back down to Widow Hawes, and then I'm going to show you an easier way down from Greystones, other than the very, very steep descent off the front. So here we are. This is that new stile and dog gate. We're going to head up over the top of Widow Hawes and then onto Greystones, and then we're going to come back to this point, go through the gate and the stile, and head down a little path here that takes us through them little trees and back onto the forest road of Darling Howe. We'll keep plodding on through the heavy rain. The very insignificant summit of Widow Hawes, 404 metres. It's a singe, and there ain't even a cairn. It's basically a little hump in between Greystones and Broom Fell. And when you get to this fence here, cross the stile and it'll put you on the other side of the path to get up to Greystones. The final steep ascent onto Greystones. And it's one wet day now. Greystones Wainwright summit. It's a bit like Whinlatter Fell. The Wainwright summit on the end of the ridge here is lower than the Burkitt summit. The Wainwright summit's 452 metres. The Burkitt summit's over there. We're going to do that next, which is 456 metres. Right then, we'll head over to the Burkitt summit and then back down to Widow Hawes, where we'll find that path down to Darling Howe. Greystones Burkitt summit and the true summit, 456 metres, and there's some wild atmospherics going on now. There's our route from Whinlatter Fell all the way along the ridge, through the forest to Lord's Seat, then to Broom Fell, and now Greystones. We're back over Widow Hawes now and heading for that little gate. This path isn't actually on the map, but as you can see, it's clearly here on the ground. Drops you down to that forest road down there. So once you hit the bottom and you hit this forest track here that's been used by the vehicles, turn left and head through the forest. I'm sure you'll agree it's a much nicer route down than that horrendous steep descent from the front of Greystones. This one just takes you down nice and gradually through the forest, with the added advantage that it brings you out at the car park where we parked. That's us back down onto the lower road, where we're going to turn left and head down to the road that we set off on this morning. Once we get down to the road we started on, we'll be 2 minutes from the car. So I'm going to wrap my video up here and say thank you for watching. I hope we got some good footage despite the poor weather conditions. The route's about 8 miles in total. So yeah, it's thank you from me and thank you from our lad, the Rockstar, who I think he's going to go down here for a dip. You going down, Billy? Good lad, go on. There he goes. From Spout Force Car Park, Darling Howe, we head up the forest track to find the rusty old tank on our right hand side, and then headed steeply up the fell side to Brown Howe, Whinlatter's Wainwright summit, crossing over to Whinlatter's Burkitt summit, and then drop down to Tarbarrel Moss, through the forest, and then to the summit of Lord's Seat. From Lord's Seat we head across the ridge to Broom Fell, dropping down to Widow Hawes, and then up to the Wainwright summit of Greystones, across to the Burkitt summit, back down to Widow Hawes, and down the track, back into the forest at Darling Howe and the car.